Ofsted inspections, the planning call. When the time comes for your inspection, an inspector will call you by telephone by 10 a.m. This is the notification call. On this call, the inspector will ask you to identify the most suitable day for the inspection to take place. The inspector will then want to schedule a second, longer call, known as the planning call. This will be later the same day, last approximately 30 minutes, and is normally a video call. When scheduling the planning call, consider times of the day that are quieter or when children are napping. However, inspectors are expected to understand childminders and be flexible around you. The inspector will explain what will be discussed on the planning call. Remember that you can take breaks on the call if needed, and let the inspector know if you have any reasonable adjustments or adaptation requests for the planning call. You will receive a notification email after your notification phone call, and this asks you to gather factual information about your setting, which will be discussed during the inspection. This will include the age range and number of children on roll, number of 5-year-olds on roll, operating times, number of staff and their levels of qualification, the number and age of children receiving additional funding, including the early years pupil premium and disability access funding, and the number of children with SEND. The planning call. The aim of the planning call is for you and the inspector to have a meaningful and professional conversation about your setting, its context, and your views about its strengths and priorities for improvement. The structure will include 3 parts. 1. Introduction and discussing practicalities. 2. Understanding the setting's context. And 3. Planning the timetable. Remember, Ofsted's inspectors are expected to understand the context of childminding and be flexible. The needs of the child come first, and they will be flexible during the call and work around you taking care of the children. Part 1. Introduction and discussing practicalities. During this section, the inspectors will make sure you have the information you need, including Ofsted's Code of Conduct, which sets out expectations of inspectors and providers during the inspection. The provider contact helpline number, checking that any reasonable adjustments or adaptations agreed during the notification call are in place, and if you have any requests that are specific to your setting's context. The inspector will also ask about your well-being. The inspector will also make sure you understand the process of inspection and the toolkit that they will use to guide evaluation and grading, and where you can access the latest inspection documents. They'll ask if you have any questions or concerns that you would like to raise, or if there is anything you want to clarify before the inspection. They will explain how you'll be able to raise any matters during the inspection itself, and how they will use their mobile phone during the inspection. Part 2. Understanding the setting's context. During this part of the planning call, inspectors will be looking to develop an accurate understanding of your setting's context, including the demographics of the children and their needs. Inspectors will use this to reflect on the impact of your actions on the children, particularly disadvantaged children, those with special educational needs and or disabilities, those who are unknown or previously known to children's social care, and those who face barriers to their learning and or well-being. Inspectors will ask about your setting's context, including any changes since previous inspection, and details of and responses to any recent tensions in or pressures from the community. Relevant safeguarding issues you have identified, including any safeguarding concerns or allegations made about adults. Your recent and ongoing priorities and challenges, and the actions you have taken to maintain or improve standards, and how you have assessed the impact of your actions. The information asked for as part of the notification email to identify disadvantaged children, those with SEND, those who are known or were previously known to children's social care, and those who face barriers to their learning and or well-being. evaluation of the setting's strengths and successes, and your priorities for improvement, including where you believe you currently sit in terms of the 5 point grading scale for each evaluation area, and what you want all children to know and achieve as part of the setting's curriculum ambition. Your approach to inclusion. Inspectors will explore your approach to ensuring that you and any staff you employ are able to identify and support disadvantaged children, those with SEND, those known or previously known to children's social care, and those who face other barriers to their learning and or well-being. Inspectors need to consider this even if you have not identified any children on roll who fall into these groups. This is to ensure you are identifying and addressing children's needs effectively. They will also explore how your setting supports these children, the impact of the support given to children, and if and how that impact is monitored and reviewed. Steps the setting is taken to meet the duty to make reasonable adjustments for disabled children. How the daily routines and curriculum are organised to meet the needs of all children, especially those disadvantaged children, those with SEND, those known or previously known to children's social care, and those who face other barriers to their learning and or well-being. How the setting works with external professionals and agencies to support children effectively. This is particularly important in settings caring for children with more complex needs. How the setting ensures continuity of care and information sharing for any children who attend shared care or split placements. If you have not identified any children on roll who are disadvantaged, have SEND, or are known or previously known to children's social care, inspectors will want to know why this may be the case. They will take into account any contextual information about the setting. Part 3, Planning the Timetable. The purpose of this part of the call is to shape the plan for the inspection. Inspectors will make sure you understand the plan and know what practical arrangements you need to make to support it. Inspectors will consider and plan with you what inspection activities they need to carry out to gather the necessary evidence to celebrate what leaders have identified as strengths, validate the priorities that you have identified for improvement and whether they have an effective plan to bring about the desired impact. Highlight that there is more to do to ensure that all children achieve, belong, and thrive. You can invite inspectors to meet all available staff at the start of the on-site inspection and to be introduced to the children. Inspectors should agree to this wherever possible so they can develop positive relationships with those involved in the inspection. When planning the timetable, inspectors will plan to check paediatric first aid arrangements, arrange to meet the practitioner designated to take lead responsibility for safeguarding, and the member of staff acting as special educational needs coordinator. The childminder is the DSL and likely to be SENCO, and arrange to meet those responsible for leadership. Discuss the arrangements to speak with parents to gather their views, and gather evidence about what EYPP funding the setting has received and consider leaders' rationale on how it has been spent. Inspectors will briefly explain case sampling and ask you to help identify children who are disadvantaged, including those in receipt of EYPP, have SEND, are known or were previously known to children's social care, or face other barriers to their learning and or well-being. The sample should be representative, including, where relevant, a child with an educational, health and care plan, and where possible, a disabled child, a looked after child, a child known or previously known to children's social care, a child who receives EYPP, a child from any other group that leaders have identified as significant to the context in which they work. Inspectors will agree on the children for case sampling when they arrive on site. Inspectors may identify other children that they will need to include in the sample following any emerging evidence. Timings of inspection activities will vary depending on the length of the inspection, the provision type, and any relevant context. Initial inspection activities. Inspectors will focus on gathering first-hand evidence to children's experiences through shared observations with you, discussions with children, considering in detail the experiences of children identified for case sampling. These activities will allow you the opportunity to show inspectors your setting, discuss the context in which you work, and exemplify the impact of your actions. Additional inspection activities. About halfway through the inspection day, inspectors will, with you, reflect on the evidence gathered so far. During this discussion, inspectors will check the emerging evidence. They will reinforce the toolkit evaluation areas and focus on whether the inspected standard is being met. Inspectors will also discuss with you how emerging evidence aligns with your self-evaluation. Additional inspection activities will usually include a discussion with you about a particular area of focus and then explore further what it is like on the ground for children in that evaluation area. Typical activities are focused leadership discussions with those responsible for particular areas already mapped on to the schedule, and further shared observations. Meetings with staff, further informal or planned discussions with children, and further activities relating to case sampling, such as discussions with parents and/or key persons of the children selected. Focused leadership discussions and shared observations. Focused leadership discussions might include talking about the initial areas of inspection focus or emerging evidence gathered during early inspection activities. During the planning call, inspectors will discuss which evaluation areas they are likely to want to explore in more detail through focused leadership discussions and shared observations. This will help you plan and organise these at a suitable time. It is important that time is scheduled for these discussions so the inspector can understand your rationale for the strengths and areas of focus you have identified and your actions to date. Together, where possible, the inspector may carry out further inspection activities to see the impact on the ground through shared observations. This will help validate your self-evaluation. Shared observations are an important opportunity for you to show the inspector your setting's context. Other discussion points on the call. Inspectors will discuss how the chosen nominee will support the inspection, provide information about their write-up time between inspection activities, explain the regular reflective discussions throughout the inspection, explain that towards the end of inspection there will be a grading discussion to which you and the nominee, if there is one, will be invited, and agree with you how the proposed timetable will be finalised on arrival and how final feedback will be given.